Is any coach on the ball schedule a better game planner than Josh Heupel? Caleb Calhoun brought this up at our meeting this morning. So, Caleb, why did this creep into your brain, sir?
It just, I just kind of thought about it because we had talked at length over different coaches who are great game planners. And I was looking at Tennessee's schedule and I kind of went down the list and I'm like, who would I rather have if I need one game for my life to game plan? And I mean, I really couldn't think of anybody other than Josh Heupel. Now, because I get what people are going to say. Nick Saban is a brilliant analytical defensive coach, and I agree with that. And Kirby Smart actually is pretty good too. He's Nick Saban's protege. There's no greater protege of any coach. I mean, is that the greatest coach, head coach, protege of all time? Nick Saban and then Kirby Smart as his protege. I mean, like that's like
it's pretty good. That's
yeah,
pretty good. A lot of times, protege just means you open the door for somebody, but he has lived up to the billing.
He has. So I understand where people come from, but Dave, you know this. There's only so much game planning you can really do defensively. A lot of what you do, a lot of defense is just about being good. Let's be honest. People, they came from the Bill Belichick tree, or Nick Saban did. Peyton Manning said this years ago when he used to struggle with the Patriots in the playoffs. He said, their defense isn't that complicated. They're just good. So it's hard, there's not much you can do. I think Saban and Smart coach up their defense well in preparation, but there's not much game planning required. So then I thought, okay, game planning comes more offensively for the most part. And yeah, it's Josh Heupel, Lane Kiffin, and Brian Kelly. That's all I really got, honestly, as far as if you need a game for your life, which SEC coach would you want to prepare for the game that week?
I will say this. It's not Nick Saban. Now, Nick Saban might be the guy that you want to head up your program, but I've talked to a coach that was on his staff, and he said, and I've told you this before, he said it wasn't unusual to tear up the offensive game plan. Saban's a defensive coach. To tear up the offensive or defensive game plan like a Thursday before and say, let's kind of redo this thing as far as what you're going to throw out there on a Saturday. And at times, I think that's probably been a mistake. There's no arguing with his success. Same for Kirby Smart. So I think what you're essentially asking is if everybody had equal Jimmys and Joes, would Josh Heupel win in X's and O's? Is that kind of what you're asking?
It's exactly what I'm asking.
Okay, well, that's interesting because I give a lot of credit, and we want to give credit to the offense, and we should. But I give a lot of credit to Josh Heupel for saying, Tim Banks, this is your defense. And you run multiple stuff, get vertical, and that's the way that you want to do things, so do it. Whereas he could say, let's play soft and let's do the best we can to limit the amount of points that the other team's able to score, and kind of a bend but don't break defense, then give the offense a little bit of a rest. But that's not what they're doing. So I think that's Tim Banks's style. So, at first when we talked about it, it seemed absurd, but I think you could make a real argument for that. That as far as X's and O's, Josh Heupel can stand toe-to-toe with anybody and is better than Saban or Smart. I think you can make that argument. As a whole program builder, it would be silly to make that argument until we see more out of Josh Heupel for the next couple of years. But who else is on Tennessee's schedule besides Smart and Saban that, Caleb, you would even throw in the discussion?
I mean, he's at Virginia, but there's no talent there, so Tennessee's going to blow him out. And Tony Elliott, I would believe, is a good game planner. He did a lot of good game planning when he was under Dabo Swinney at Clemson, but that's Virginia, so that's not a factor. My mind has just slipped me. The UTSA coach. Again, these are all smaller schools that Tennessee's going to blow out. So on Tennessee's level, Billy Napier, not that great of a game planner. Again, Billy Napier's trying to be Nick Saban at Florida. That he's trying to do what Nick Saban does, but do it at Florida. Shane Beamer, nobody believes in him as a game planner. And
well, you have to put an asterisk next to Beamer because of what he did against Tennessee and Clemson at the end of the year. You have to say that maybe he's learned something as a young coach. Do I think he's better than Josh Heupel? No, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, I don't. Jimbo Fisher maybe used to be, not anymore. I mean, is Jimbo Fisher maybe a good game planner but just has a bad system? I don't know. I think you and I both agree the greatest game we ever saw Jimbo Fisher coach was that 2001 SEC championship game as Nick Saban's offensive coordinator when he lost his quarterback and his running back and he switched up his entire game plan. You talk about ripping up an offensive game plan. They ripped up their offensive game plan in the middle of the game, basically.
Yeah, running the draw.
And John Chavis couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, you give him more credit, whereas I say it's more Chavis's fault. But we won't.
No, I'm with you on that.
Split hairs on that. But so who are the best game planners in the nation? Is Josh Heupel rank with those guys that aren't on Tennessee's schedule? I would say Sonny Dykes at TCU deserves some love for that. I think Lincoln Riley at Southern California deserves some love in that. Who else are we talking about?
I'm with you on those two. Lane Kiffin. You got to give Lane Kiffin.
Oh, yeah. I didn't forget about Lane. Lane might be number one on my list, actually.
Yeah, I was wondering that. And then Brian Kelly's a good game planner too, but I actually have Lane above Brian Kelly as a game, just strictly as a game planner, not like coaching and developing talent and things like that. But if I need you to, I'm still shocked an NFL team hasn't taken a shot on Lane. I know that Raiders situation was bad the way he left, but I don't know. I actually think he'd make it in the NFL if he had the right team.
Did you see Lane's tweet this morning that he retweeted a recruiting reporter saying that nowadays NIL is taken into account just like relationships with coaches or any other factor in recruiting? So he retweeted that with the thinking emoji, kind of challenging Ole Miss's booster base to, I think, turn up some more money. And that's where that thing will go south, Caleb, is he was willing to go to Auburn, I believe. And at some point, Caleb, I firmly believe that that's where his relationship at Ole Miss will go south, that they're not supplying enough NIL money. And he'll say, either I'm out or he won't win enough games and he'll get fired. But that's going to be the crux of the issue if they don't pony up dollars, which I just don't think they have.
I think Lane Kiffin has won it out for a while. I know he wanted the LSU job in 2016, 2017.
I know he called about the LSU job before it was open.
Oh, that doesn't shock me at all. I did not know he did that. Wow. Yeah, I know he wanted the LSU job. I love that they didn't take Lane because of baggage, but they took Ed Ogeron, which is hilarious when you think of baggage. But the problem with Lane, I think, is
one of your boosters' pregnant wives as a gas station.
You look like you work out. What?
That's what we need. That drop. If I could go back and record that.
Has Lane? Okay, here's my question to you though. Has Lane? I get burning one bridge and still making it in college football. Has Lane burned too many bridges? Has he rubbed too many people the wrong way up to this point? Because you can get away with it once or twice, but I mean, he's pissed off a lot of people in college football and in the NFL.
Going back to your point about the NFL, I think he has. I think that's a small group of guys that are basically like, hey, we can find another dude that looks good in front of a camera. And I think half the coaches or half the owners in the NFL just want a guy who's going to win, yes, but not create big waves. And he's probably going to create big waves. So I think his time in the NFL is done unless it's an OC. As far as college, I don't know how people view him. I can say that if I'm an AD, I got major issues with the way he left Tennessee.